Good evening. If you could all find a comfortable spot to listen, we'll get this show on the road here. My name's Bob Davidson, and on behalf of myself and my wife Jan, whom you'll meet shortly, who are the founders of the Davidson Institute for Talent Development, we'd like to welcome all of you, the dignitaries, whom are some have come and gone, and some are still here, so I'm not going to go through all their names. The moms and pops, sisters and brothers, our friends, and especially, of course, the fellows. The Davidson Institute was formed as a result of Jan and I's interest in this group of young people, not this particular group, but the broad group of young people who have a great deal of talent and giftedness and who are not otherwise encouraged, motivated, or rewarded by our society. So we wanted to study what could be done for gifted and talented young people. The Fellows Award Program, of which this is the inaugural ceremony, this is our first year, is one of two major programs that we have in our institute, the other being the Davidson Young Scholar Program, where we bring young children from the age of 4 to 10 into our program, and through educational psychologists and other mentors and guidance, we work with their families to develop a really creative and warm environment for those children to learn even more and prosper and be healthy, happy children who are motivated to use their talent in positive ways. We don't need any more Ted Kaczynskis. We want more Einsteins and Mozarts, although we don't put expectations on these children. They put it on themselves, and they achieve on their own. Tonight, of course, is a special night because this program has been long in the making and long in the planning. And before I go much further, I'd like to thank the staff of the Davidson Institute for planning it so well. As I said, this is the first year. We have 9 absolutely outstanding, fantastic young people who have achieved great things already, but they're not over the hill, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more achievements out of these young people. But we wanted to recognize it. You know, there is the MacArthur Grant for old folks, but there is nothing in this country that recognizes the achievement of young people, similar sorts of achievement. Well, there is now, and we're happy and pleased that the first year we got such a great class of fellows. And without too much more ado then, I'd like to get on to the program. But I'd especially like to thank and introduce our friend, the senator from Iowa, Senator Grassley, who was very kind to sponsor this event. And even more important, perhaps, has been a champion of gifted young people. Not only in his general support, but specifically in legislation. And he's been one of the very few guiding lights in this area. So I'd like to now introduce Senator Grassley from Iowa.
Let me thank you for your leadership. More importantly, thank you for being a trailblazer in an area of education that needs it, and the extent to which I can continue to work with you, I want to do that. And I'm not surprised that one of your honorees is from Iowa, because we do very well in education. And she's taken those talents to Columbia University now to set things right in New York. This reception is, of course, a great opportunity to highlight the importance of gifted and talented education. And obviously, as I've said, I'm honored that Bob and Jan Davidson have asked me to be a part of this event, not only to sponsor it, but an opportunity to say what's good about programs and what we can do to help those programs. I've been working for several years along with Representative Galegley from California in the House of Representatives on legislation to help states and school districts meet the unique needs of gifted and talented students. I've found that many people need to be constantly reminded and convinced, for that matter, of the need for gifted and talented education. Now, maybe you don't think that that's necessary, but it is necessary. Some people seem to assume that gifted students are simply extra smart kids who will automatically excel in the classroom. The fact is that gifted and talented students have a unique way of thinking and a unique way of learning. Gifted and talented children look at the world differently and often have different ways of interacting socially. As a result, gifted and talented students have a different educational need from other students. In fact, without proper services, many gifted and talented children lose interest in school. They learn how to expend minimum efforts for the top grades, how they can have low motivation as a result, and then develop poor work habits. Even those who accept the rationale for gifted and talented education often compare the needs of gifted students unfavorably with the needs of other groups of students. Much of the federal role in education is rightly focused on helping states to meet the needs of disadvantaged students and students with special learning needs. Now, this is not at all inconsistent with efforts to then assist states in implementing gifted and talented programs. The President has called on all of us to leave no student behind, no child behind. And I believe that gifted and talented children should be included in this very important goal that the President has set. To that end, I would like to, as you're all doing tonight, recognize the work of Bob and Jan Davidson and the Davidson Institute of Talent Development that they have set up for the extraordinary efforts on behalf of this group of students we call gifted and talented. The Davidson Institute offers a range of programs and services to help profoundly gifted students realize their potential with the end result of helping all of society. The Davidsons have stepped up to the plate to help gifted kids, and we all want to thank them for doing that. I know you're doing that by being here tonight. Hopefully, Congress is going to follow the example of the Davidsons and the Institute. Finally, I would like to congratulate, as you're all here to congratulate, those students that we're honoring called Davidson's Fellows. And obviously the best one is from Roosevelt High School, Des Moines, Iowa. These students represent the tremendous potential possessed by all gifted students. In times of serious national challenges, and we're in that right now, our nation has always turned to its brightest and best. Tonight's award recipients and gifted children throughout the country are a vital national resource that will become increasingly important for our future prosperity and social well-being. In fact, each of these Davidson Fellows has already demonstrated that they are capable of making a significant positive contribution to society. And I've had a chance only to visit with two of them personally tonight, but I sense that from the ones I visited with. We must continue to do all we can to encourage and support students like those here tonight so that they may fully realize their potential. And so once again, we thank the Davidson Institute for that. Thank you very much.
I also wanted to say, when we spoke with all the Davidson Fellows this afternoon, there was one common theme, and that there had been 2 or 3 very important teachers and mentors in their lives, and I want to recognize those and say thank you. A couple of them are here this evening, and of course the parents play a major role in encouraging and supporting the development of their talents. So thank you, parents and teachers, for mentoring them. And now Bob and I would like to present the 2001 Davidson Fellows. Joshua Feldman didn't want his mother to read to him when he was 2 because he could read himself by then. At 2.5, he began playing the piano. By 6, he was studying at Juilliard. So what does an 11-year-old boy do when he's not performing with adults? Well, Joshua attends middle school and plays soccer. But most of all, he loves to play the piano, and he hopes to share this joy with everyone, and he does. I am pleased to recognize Davidson Fellows Laureate, Joshua Feldman.
One more picture. They're not done yet. Can you carry both of you?
Stay nearby. It's your turn.
Okay, our next fellow recipient comes from the great state of Delaware, and his name means the act of thinking, or at least that's what I'm told. I think part of that's right, but it's not an act. It's real. As you know, all the fellows submitted pieces of work to qualify for this prestigious award. And his project was to study the behavior of heart using nonlinear dynamics. Those linear dynamics just didn't cut it. And he built a mathematical model, computer mathematical model, to predict, in a sense, the reaction that the human heart would have on various drugs and pacemakers and things like that. And I'm sure his work is among the best that's ever been done in that area. So for that and for other good and valid reasons, our next Davidson Fellow Laureate is Chintan Hussain. Chintan? They want to take your picture.
Okay. Whether gliding across the water in a competitive crew or sequencing a gene in the laboratory, Brennan Johnson rarely slows down. She is as passionate about understanding about how things work as she is about serving disadvantaged youth. Brennan has an incredible mind and an incredible heart to match. I am pleased to recognize Davidson Fellows Laureate Brennan Johnson from Iowa.
Okay, you stand in the middle and they want to take 1,000 pictures. Our next Davidson Fellow comes from that great state of Wyoming. And his project that he submitted, which actually is kind of interesting to me because I used to own a company in this area, was a computer game called Snaker 2. But it's not just a computer game. It was an interactive, multiplayer, internet-based AI game. And I know that in our company we used to have 50 people working for a couple years to make such a game, but it didn't take Eric that long. And for that actually fantastic achievement, which was his project, and again for other good and valuable reasons, we'd like to give the next Davidson Fellow Award to Eric Anderson.
Though her frame may be small, Julia Carey is mighty. As a composer, she manipulates the sounds of 70 instruments and controls the emotions of all within earshot. We are really pleased. We learned this afternoon that two of Julia's compositions have been published or have been accepted for publication by the nation's oldest music publishing company. So I am pleased to recognize Davidson Fellows Julia Carey.
Okay. Well, she didn't get all the pretty girls. I got one, too. Okay. Our next Davidson Fellow wrote her first piece of literature. Actually, she didn't write it. She dictated it at the age of 4, and it was called The Time of Great Recite, if I have that correctly. Apparently, she took a few years off because the next information I have is she didn't dictate her next piece of literature, which was called Z5B, until she was 8. And what she was doing between 4 and 8 is a mystery to me. But nonetheless, she's continued her writing career, and the project that she submitted to us was Iana. And apparently that was just, however, one step along the road. She, since then, has finished this 370-page science fiction piece. And as I learned here today, she's working on I don't know how many more. So no doubt we're going to hear a whole lot more from our next Davidson Fellow, Rachel Emery.
Kai Katowicz will make you think. His unraveling of the symbolism of Moby Dick sparkled literary interest in his peers as well as his professors. He loves digging up knowledge in bookstores and in the library where he works. Just then, when you think he's a professor, the university professor that he wants to become, he reminds you that he's still a high school senior who likes Japanese cartoons. I am pleased to recognize Davidson Fellow Kai Katowicz.
From the great state of Nevada. Okay, far away. Oh, yeah, Mom. Okay. Our next fellow awardee submitted a project with the following title: The Endeavor of Seeing the Essential Nature of Existence. Something I have never seen. He's a student philosopher who breaks down barriers between philosophy and physics. He's also a very engaging young man, and I find that he doesn't feel his project is quite done, and I don't know with that title how it ever could be. So he's continuing to improve it, and I'm sure he'll be doing many, many more. He's from the great state of Florida, and his name is Daniel Orenstein. You too.
I'd like to thank you all for recognizing these outstanding young people. I'm sure you'll agree that these children deserve to be nurtured and to be encouraged and to continue to develop their talents. So let's give them all a big applause to do that. We're very proud to celebrate their success, and I'd also like to thank Marie Capurro, director of our institute, for making this happen, taking it from concept to reality, and that wasn't easy. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, OAI, for planning this event and having all of us here together in such a lovely atmosphere and room. Thank you very much. Good evening. Oh, so you're going to get all the